So I just received the Onsra Velar in the mail, and for some reason it's shipping out of Salt Lake, so I got my board first. I charged the battery to full immediately and went out for a trial run. Despite being a first reaction video, I have so many thoughts I need to share here. Here are all of my initial reactions for the Onsra Velar. This thing uses 200mm tires. Despite having such huge wheel diameters, the acceleration is still insane. The Onsra Velar marks the first for me. It is the first non-boutique electric skateboard that I have not fully tested out the entire acceleration curve. It just got to a point where I'm like, in the name of all that is holy, this is way too fast for me. Remember me when I was saying the Meepo Voyager and the Backfire Zealot X accelerations were insane? That's with me flooring the throttle to the max on those boards. I wasn't even able to floor the throttle to the max on the Onsra Velar before I chickened out. The only board that ever made me chicken out was my Lone Star Super Sport, but that is a $4,500 board. This is half its price. I am definitely going to be doing more testing on it, but so far, the acceleration coming from the dual 6384 motors powered by the Samsung 50S 14S4P batteries are simply nuts. You're not going to be disappointed. You are going to be overwhelmed. When I first saw these tires, my immediate reaction was, oh, that's going to be a bumpy ride. I'm going to probably switch them to a 6-inch all-terrain setup. But to my surprise, these 200mm tires are extremely soft and grippy. The center of the wheel provides a smooth experience on flat surfaces. The knobs on the tires don't really engage or touch the ground until you go off-roading. This is great as it minimizes unnecessary contact patches, which will in turn reduce friction and increase range. As for grips, I'm not too concerned, as I was doing some hard turns at speed and the board still feels super grippy with no traction loss. Overall, these tires are just top notch. They provide smooth ride on paved roads and still accelerate like a monster despite having such huge diameter. I was thinking about changing them at first, but now I think I would keep these tires for a lot longer. The build quality is next level. I don't think I know another board with such aggressive curves and angles in all three dimensions. For example, I love the M board Endurance, but you can see it's just a flat box with wheels on it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but simpler designs are cheaper and easier to make. The Velar is made not just with functionality in mind, but also with design as a priority in parallel. And to bend carbon fiber in so many angles introduces manufacturing risks and potentially increases in cost. In my mind, this is all worth it in the end. The result is not only a board that I want to ride all day, but also one that I want to stare at when I'm not riding it. Okay, so some magic shenanigans is happening with these beefy Onsra channel trucks. These trucks turn extremely well on default. I got on the board and just started riding. The board feels extremely stable at high speeds and without changing any settings. The board is able to make some tight turns that only double Kempton trucks can do. This is not my first rodeo with channel trucks, but this one feels like it somehow hit the sweet spot for both high-speed riding and sharp turns. I've owned a lot of boards that come from the factory in critical need of tuning and adjustment, but not the Velar. The settings on this board are extremely well tuned right out of the box, and it's great. So story time, my biggest complaint about my Lone Star Super Sport is that it isn't a nimble carver. Even on the softest bushings, it is still too stable and can't make 90-degree sharp turns. But the Velar seems to be just as stable at 30 miles per hour and also be able to make the sharpest turns when needed. Wizard. It's been a while since I heard motor screams this prominent. It's not noisy or loud by any means, but it's definitely more audible than a lot of newer boards. This is good because hearing a good motor scream really gets me going and gets my blood pumping. most of the newer boards' motors are becoming way too quiet, and I don't like that. I really do like the Velar's motor screams. In my opinion, it sounds perfect, not because the motors accelerate like monsters, but because the sound elicits an emotional response from me. I don't know about you, but I think my board came with a mountain goat installed. Take a listen. Sounds like a mountain goat, does it? I think it's because of the knobs on the tires hit the bell covers when I turn too hard, and that friction is creating this sound. But I just think it's hilarious because the first time when I heard it, I literally looked back and thought there was a goat or something behind me. A touch of Switzerland, I guess. The foot placement takes a bit to get used to. If you ever owned a Kelly NYC Firebomb, then you would know how exactly this board behaves. I'm very used to extending my feet all the way forward until the concave stops my foot, but on this deck it is not the best spot to get the most control. You need to pull your feet back a few inches. About here, this is where you have the most leverage for turning the board. Again, it takes a short while to get used to. I had to look down a few times to reposition my feet, but in the end, it's extremely easy to get used to. This deck is extremely stiff with no room for wiggle. This introduces a lot of stability. It is still comfortable to ride. The foam grip tape and the pneumatic tires eliminates all vibrations. But because it's not flexible, you don't get the rebound effect coming from a flexible deck while you're carving. But for some reason, when I'm carving, I could have sworn I felt a bit of rebound effect that only a flexible deck would offer. How is that even possible? Right now, I think this is because of these barrel bushings. They provide that top-notch rebound feeling after each turn. I'll be doing more testing on this, so make sure you're subscribed and you can find this out on my full review of this amazing board. There seemed to be a small signal issue between the remote and the board if you separate the remote from the board more than 10 feet. I don't think I'll ever be worried about this issue while riding it because, the remote is always next to the board, but I found this remote does disconnect from the board if I stand on the other side of the car. For example, the board is behind the car, I stand in front of the car, and then the remote cannot seem to find this board. I just find this to be a little bit interesting. I'll be doing more testing on it to make sure this isn't an issue. So far, it isn't. All of my rides are smooth with no interruptions whatsoever, but I just found this to be interesting. The charging took about 5 hours to fully charge. That's almost half a day or an entire afternoon. I think in today's market, 5 hours to charge a board is no longer acceptable. Onsra needs to offer a much faster option separately to those who need it. There are still benefits to charging slowly. It increases the health of your board. But I think if someone needs to charge in a pinch, offering like high-speed charging that's at 2 hours to charge the board would be amazing to offer to your customers. And warranty. Jesus, 2-year warranty? I think this is the first time I've seen the number 2 in front of the word warranty ever on an electric skateboard. So yeah, there you go, 2-year warranty. So far, I am extremely impressed with the Onsra Velar, and I will continue to make more reviews on this board with in-depth videos. Let me know your questions on this board down below. I'll be sure to answer your questions on my next video. Also, if you want to purchase the Onsra Velar, please consider using my affiliate code below. This video is not sponsored as I paid for this board with my own money. Alright, thank you, and see you next time.